Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know podcast network presents Balls and Brew.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to those of you viewing us live on Facebook. My name is Rod Morgan. I am the host of the Morgan You Know podcasting network. Not the only host on the Morgan You Know podcasting network. Our executive producer, Jimmy Jamriska, is a bit of a co-host of this show, and he hosts our wrestling and NBA coverage. He will not be here with us for NFL, but he will be with us in the second half of this show for his normal basketball and wrestling duties. We will have to press on without Jimmy. We have some big football news to get to. We will get to that soon. But first, we're going to start with the cold open question of the week. Joining me to answer the cold open question of the week is my guy, the old man, the curmudgeon of this podcast, the Cowboys fan of this podcast, the Colts fan of this podcast, the true defender of all Colts fandom, if I'm to be honest with you. It's Chris King. Chris, hello.
What's up? I am the only person in this pod that picked the Colts to win their division this year, so you are correct. I am the barometer of how we measure Colts fan on this podcast.
There we go. The old man will definitely tell you all about it. We'll get his takes coming up here in a little bit. Our football handicapper, the man who makes us smarter, joining us just from across the way from me. Not quite a stone's throw. If I had like an incredible arm, I could probably throw a stone from here in my studio to get over to where Josh Williams is at in Mishawaka. But it's Josh Williams, our handicapper. Josh, hello.
What's up, boys? I actually went 2-0 against the spread last week. If you can believe that. Finally. Yes. And the best number on that Chargers team total got there, because if we would have went with the other number, 27.5, we would not have covered. So 26.5 it is, and 2-0 against the spread. And let's go. Let's try to keep it rolling here.
That's what we like to hear. We're getting hot as we're rolling towards the end of the year. What better time to win yourself some money right before the holidays, right? Speaking of holidays, well, I guess it's not quite a holiday, but it's an anniversary on November 3rd, back in 1990. So earlier this week, Jesse's song, an episode of the wonderful program Saved by the Bell aired. This is, of course, where Jessie got herself addicted to caffeine pills. She was in a girl group. She was studying. Pressure was too much for young Jessie, and she turned to caffeine pills to be able to keep up and at it. And she gave us the iconic line, I'm so scared. And Zach got her and calmed her down, and it was a very special episode of Saved by the Bell. So that got me thinking, gentlemen, what is your favorite episode of Saved by the Bell of all time? Chris, you were much older than we were when Saved by the Bell came around. I'm interested to know if you actually liked this show. You were basically a middle-aged to almost retiree when this show premiered, whereas the rest of us were in high school and junior high. So what are your Saved by the Bell thoughts?
Well, a little backstory, Rod, because I was a grip on the set of Good Morning, Miss Bliss, which, as we all know, was the precursor to Saved by the Bell, which got renamed Saved by the Bell the junior high years, all right?
Indianapolis, yeah.
And you don't know what kind of can of worms you opened up with this cold open question, right? Because I got theories and I got opinions about this show, all right? Because I highly believe that there is a legitimate thing where Zach never left Indiana and Good Morning Miss Bliss. And this is all just a fever dream or a fantasy where he could become the cool guy and everything else in a different high school in a fantasy type California that someone who has never been there would dream up, right? I'm also not a fan of Zach Morris. I think he's a creep. I think he is a selfish, narcissistic, bad friend, for lack of a better term, right? My favorite character was Screech. That's who I felt more connected to than anybody else. All right. So my favorite episodes are usually Screech centered episodes. So my favorite episode, House Party. It's season 2, episode 5, I believe. And just to give you guys a background story, all right.
As if we don't know it.
Screech, this is for the listeners.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Screech meets this wonderful girl. She's a reoccurring character. Her name is Violet, played by Tori Spelling, a very young Tori Spelling.
Violet, I forgot Violet.
right? So he starts getting involved. She has a thing for Screech, but she has this domineering creep of a nerd boyfriend called Maxwell, who's played by a Sean Astin lookalike. But so in order for Zach and Slater to help Screech, they convince him to throw a party at his house when his mom, a avid Elvis fanatic, decides to go on a vacation and stay in the Heartbreak Hotel.
As she should be. As she should be.
Right? So they throw a party. And in the process of the party, the girls come over, they break an Elvis statue, and Screech is almost inconsolable. He forgives Violet, who broke the statue, but they have to make some money to buy a replacement statue so his mom won't kill herself or kill Screech, right? So they get a plan and they have to make up some money, and they don't have enough money to buy the statue, so they decide to have a poker game with said creep nerd Maxwell. And in the process of this poker game, Zach loses Screech's dog, a hound dog that his mom loves as well. He gambles away the family pet, Rod. All right? Inconceivable.
This should have been my favorite episode.
Is this where Chauncey Billups got the idea for the insider poker games that he just got in trouble for?
I mean, I think so, because Maxwell was playing these guys. He shows up to the poker game saying, "I've never played before," and he has a dealer's little visor and everything. He's like, "We're playing 5-card stud," and starts dealing them out, right? So,
Oh, look at you, Chris. You got the good recall of that episode, man. How do we finish? How do they learn their lesson?
So Screech, before I get there, they lose the dog. In order to get the dog back, Zach gets the idea essentially to whore out Jesse on a date to Maxwell so that he'll trade the dog back.
Always tough for Jesse.
They throw another party. They raise money. Maxwell keeps acting like a creep to both Jesse and Violet. Screech stands up, tells Maxwell to get out of his house, blah, blah, blah. Screech's heart of gold wins everybody over, and Zach somehow still gets away with being a complete jerk off, ruining everybody else's time and making trouble for them just so he could have a good time.
Chris just absolutely laying flames to Zach Morris there, dropping his favorite Saved by the Bell episode, holding Screech up as an idol. You love Chris for being a contrarian if you listen to this podcast, and he absolutely went there to start with. Williams, what do you got for us?
Zach taking way too much slander here for the Saved by the Bell crew here. Remember, Zach was the one who saved Jesse from overdosing in Rod's episode, and my episode, Pipe Dreams, was the one where season 3, episode 11, and aired where the characters discover oil on the Bayside High, probably from Jerry Jones, who knows, and leading to an environmental spill and a debate over drilling. And guess who saves the day? Zach, because he sprays all that oil all over the construction site, and you hear from the courtroom, from the crowd, you got serious Zach in that episode. That was one of the best episodes ever. Pipe Dreams. Come on, Chris,
Nice.
get out of here with your Zach slander.
That's typical. That proves my theory right there. This is a complete fantastical fantasy in Zach's mind. Who else would make themselves or have a situation where they could be that important to global warming and an oil spill, right, than a guy who's dreaming this up in his head?
Well, just speaking of Zach's dreams, Chris, I like that you labeled that Jesse's song was my favorite episode. It is not. We all love Jesse's song. That is collectively all of our favorite episode. That's one of the most iconic. My favorite episode aired November 1991. Combines, actually, I should say it this way first. It gives a shine to the sport of cross country, which, let's be honest, folks, is quite underrepresented in movies and television shows as an exciting sport. So Zach joins the cross country team, interested in finally taking Bayside High to a cross country championship. Meanwhile, they get an assignment in a class because, of course, we had a guest teacher of the week, right? Another Saved by the Bell staple. Some actor would come in, be a substitute or a teacher from a class that we never heard about ever before, and they'd get a lesson. This lesson was to research your ancestry. What does one Zachary Morris find out? He has Native American heritage. Zach doesn't think much about this because as Chris said, Zach is a terrible person. He doesn't think about anybody else. He's selfish. He's all of this, right? So what does Zach do? He gives a culturally inappropriate representation about his heritage, gets scolded by the teacher, and he's told He needs to learn a lesson and show the proper respect to our Native American culture. So he's set up with a tutor by the name of Chief Henry. Chief Henry and Zach strike up a friendship. Chief Henry nicknames Zach Running Zach, gives him a headband, and dies because that's what happens on Saved by the Bell. Zach needs to learn an episode. He just got in touch with a new mentor in his Native American side, Chief Henry, and Chief Henry dies on him. But Zach has a dream and says, the chief would want me to run. I have to persevere through everything and beat our arch rival Valley in the cross-country meet and do it for Chief Henry and my Native American heritage. And the kicker to everything is, for some reason, the Bayside versus Valley cross-country meet finish line is the hallway of Bayside High School, all right? We're not running out on a golf course somewhere. We're not even ending on the football field. We are ending by the lockers. The penultimate end of this episode is Zach sprinting up to pass the guy from Valley as we see lockers on the side, okay? He wins the race, champions Native American culture, brings a championship home to Bayside. Chris, how can you dislike Zach Morris?
If there's one thing that they definitely carried over from Good Morning Miss Bliss to Saved by the Bell, it is a horrible continuity within the episodes, all right? They don't know how to do things. And my favorite episode, there's a great one. The Elvis statue is busted and broken in like 100 different pieces. The very next two scenes, you're in Screech's bedroom, and Slater's there holding a new statue that hasn't even been broken yet.
Nice.
It makes no sense. No sense whatsoever.
Well, like
there
you
is
said, possibly a dream.
There is another weird theory out there too, because there is a lot of these characters that show up for maybe an episode or two, and then they are never seen from or heard from again. You had Zach's stepbrother. You had one of Slater's girlfriends. Violet disappeared after a little while, never to be seen or heard from again. And some of these were characters who at the end of their episode said, I think I'm going to stick around for a while. And they just disappear. Like Zach's upset or getting jealous that someone's getting his spotlight. So you have the equation.
Man, we really opened up a can of worms with Saved by the Bell and Chris. We'll have to dive deeper into Chris's conspiracy Saved by the Bell corner at a future date. We got lots of NFL news to get to. Crazy NFL news from the trade deadline. I think there's going to be a bit of a debate between us three about that. I'm wearing a black Colts hat because I'm in mourning about the trade. That's a preview for my take. But first, we're going to go in chronological order. Williams, we have to start with your team. I could only imagine what Jimmy's thoughts would be about this game. Oh, I know what Jimmy's thoughts would be about this game. Jimmy's heel of the week is the Bengals defense. Then it was the Bears defense. Then it was the Bengals defense again, because that's how crazy the ending of this game was. Williams, what were your thoughts as a Bears fan watching that wild, wild ending?
Dude, it was awesome. It's awesome. What a game. What a game. And can we get the common sense? Was that a pick six from the Bears? Like, can we stop with the fingertip barely touching? And he didn't even have possession yet. He goes down and then rambles, 93 yards for touchdown. Like, the Bears should have been up 3 touchdowns with 2 minutes to go, a little over 2 minutes to go. Then all of a sudden they're losing with 50 seconds to go. Absolutely emotional roller coaster there. Yeah, man. What a wild, wild game, man. The Bengals defense. Oh, I had a stat about this. The Bengals defense since 1978, I believe, second worst DVOA defense of all time. So when I said that the Bengals were atrocious defensively going into last week's game, that was not hyperbole. They are really, really bad.
They cannot tackle.
Are bad.
They
ahead,
have missed so many tackles that they have given up an extra 750 yards this year just from missing tackles.
That's not good. That's really not good at all. Chris, what'd you think about seeing a gray beard, little gray temple Joey Flacco out there just absolutely flinging it and scoring 2 touchdowns in 49 seconds? How'd that make you feel?
Made me feel a little sad since I traded him right before that game.
You did. I appreciate that out of you.
Right? But listen. Us graybeards got to stick together.
Absolutely.
Like Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco, myself. We got to keep that out there and slinging that ball around, making sure we keep scoring, right? And that was a crazy game. 21 points in the last 2 minutes and like 15 seconds or something like that. Crazy. Bears can't cover an onside kick. Crazy. I mean, just insane the way that inning. But a Bear did become my Leatherhead of the week, Rod.
Well, look out. We're getting an early Leatherhead this week. I like it.
All right. I'll bring up the honorable mention, but I got to give it to Darnell Wright. All right.
Okay.
maybe this is going to be me trying to jinx the Bears so they lose a little bit more, so I'm giving them some love. But Darnell Wright performed. He had 47 pass rush attempts against him. He only gave up one hurry out of 47 attempts. Had the highest run block PFF score of the week at 95.5. That's insane. All right. Darnell Wright. The whole Bears offensive line did well. I can't fault them. That offensive line was phenomenal. Even though they were playing the Bengals, still phenomenal job. Darnell Wright, Leatherhead of the Week. Honorable mention, Talona Hufanga from Seattle, or the Broncos. Great week for the Broncos, and that defense, it was anchored by Hufanga.
There we go. We got to get the honorable mentions out there. The guys that almost get the leather helmets, and maybe weeks down the road, if they give just a little bit more extra effort, they can get Chris's Leatherhead team honor. Williams, let me ask you one last question about that Bears game as we head out. Big game, as Chris mentioned, by the offensive line there, which led to a nice stat line for Kyle Monangai. Is that how you say his name? Are we looking for more carries out of him, or are we going to see a thunder and lightning kind of backfield the way Johnson used to do at Detroit?
Yeah, Ben Johnson's trying to set it up. The bad thing about this is, though, he's questionable this week. DeAndre Swift is questionable this week. Roshan Johnson, who's barely played this year, is questionable this week. So we might see a fourth running back, Britton Brown. He was called up from the practice squad last week. His parents were in the stadium to watch him play. He averaged over 7 yards per carry and scored a touchdown. So I think right now, you got to give a lot of credit to what Chris said, the Bears offensive line really, really rolling right now. And that's how Ben Johnson set up that Lions offense. They started with the offensive line. That was the very first thing. And then the second year progressed into more. And then the third year progressed into more. So we're seeing that now the first year with the Bears offense.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do, because, again, I have a feeling we're going to really have a bit of an extended discussion for our show about this Colts trade. Jimmy needs to give a shout out to Brock Bowers from the Las Vegas Raiders. That is his face of the week. That's 12 catches, 127 yards, 3 touchdowns. Oh, and 1 carry and 6 yards on a carry, just to prove to everybody that he can do almost anything he wants with the football. There's really no reason to watch the Las Vegas Raiders other than Brock Bowers right now. So he is Jimmy's face of the week. Heel was I guess we landed on the Bengals defense. It was Bengals, Bears, then Bengals. So I guess ultimately Bengals get the honor landing there. Okay, Williams, you and I have talked in years past about how there's never really any trades in the NFL. What the hell happened? Why did everybody decide to make trades this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Jets really came out on top with both of these trades. And ironically, one was for Chris's team, the Cowboys, and the Colts. And one is your team, the Colts. I think the Jets came out on top in both of those trades, realizing that, and you're right, most teams don't realize this, or they just don't want the fan backlash where they have to start rebuilding. There's only one winner at the end of the year, and the Jets, surely, they're pretty far away from being that one winner. So you might as well just blow it up right now. You're not going anywhere with Sauce. You're not going anywhere with Quinn and Williams. They're good players. I'm not saying they're not good players. They're very good players. But the Jets did it right. The Jets now have 5 first-round picks the next 2 years, and then 3 second-round picks the next 2 years. And that 2027 draft is projecting to be really, really good. So I know, Rod, that's why you're upset, because the Colts gave up a couple first-round picks. So they're missing out on that 2027 draft. But you have to say that the Colts are going after it. And you can say all you want about some other teams not going after it. At least the Colts are going after it. But I understand, I'm more on your side here about they probably just gave up a little bit too much here to get Sauce.
We will get to the Colts. I'm going to try to compose myself so that it doesn't just become Chris and I yelling at one another. And that's just, who knows how much fun that's going to be for the listener, just Chris and I yelling at one another. Chris and I have done this for years and years and years. So, we certainly would have no repercussions from it. We love arguing with one another. But Chris, your initial thoughts on why you think the Jets decided to make trades? Why do you think that, the Saints shipped a couple of guys out of town? Like, it does seem that the bad teams in the NFL finally this year made some trades. Why do you think it happened? And then we'll get into the Colts trade.
The Jets had a lot of excess defensive talent. Let's be real. That's where most of their talent resides right now, is on the defense. Their offense is, I don't know. And they must have some sort of feelings about Breece Hall that they didn't want to move him, right? So I think the Jets probably did what they needed to do. I don't know if they have a track record that tells me they're going to be successful with all this draft capital and all these resources that they'll have. Chances are, Rod, in that 2027 draft, if the Jets take the Colts pick, we may still have a chance to get the player we want because the Jets aren't going to take him. I don't think that they're smart enough to take the good players. So I am for this, all right? I want my teams to try to win at all times. And that's what the Colts are doing. They are addressing a need that they had on defense. And what did they do? They got an all-pro cornerback who's only 25 years old, right? He's just now entering his prime, really. Like, why should people be upset? This is a situation that most Colts fans didn't even think that we would be in right now. And here we are shoring up our defense so we can make a playoff run. All right. That's what I want my teams to do. Make moves, try to win now. Don't give me this. We gotta give up in week 8 or week 9 and start selling off assets. I wouldn't be happy if I was a Jets fan for selling off assets. Like, I want to win now. I probably wouldn't be a Jets fan, let's be honest, but I want to win now. Let's make these deals. If we overpay a little bit, it's tough to know. The Colts have missed on a lot of draft picks too, so it doesn't mean that we're automatically going to hit on some great talent because we got rid of these picks. If we kept him, we may have mispicked, got a bust, who knows what.
Have you made your case? Do you feel that you've put everything up in front of the judge and the jury as to why this was a good move for your Indianapolis Colts? Do you have anything else?
I mean, what else is there? You're going to tell me that they shouldn't be selling the future for winning now? Because I know that you have been on this pod complaining about teams you used to root for not actually paying money to win now.
Everybody needs to win now, Chris, right? But you've gone into a store before, right? And you've seen an item that you wanted. And then when you looked at the price tag of that item, you probably have shown enough self-control to be like, you know what? Be really cool to have that Bose speaker system running all throughout my house. But you know what? $1,400 for a couple of speakers when I can get a JBL one over here that's pretty good and does the job for a heck of a lot cheaper. Maybe it's better for me in the long run to save all of that extra capital and get the thing right now that addresses a need or improves my football team at a lower price tag. And that's quite frankly where I am. I'm sorry. The Eagles, has Howie Roseman just been passing out first-round picks the last couple of years? Absolutely not. He's drafting players at the back end of the first round. Has the Chiefs been passing out first-round picks the last couple of years? No. They're drafting players at the back end of the first round because first-rounders in the NFL play, okay? Late-rounders in the NBA don't matter. Late-rounders in the NFL play. And Chris, you're right. Not every draft pick is going to hit. But I think if we look at Chris Ballard's track record, his first-rounders actually play. There's a bunch of first rounders on the Colts team right now that Ballard picked, playing on the offensive line, playing on the defense, okay? His second rounders and some of his late rounders, maybe not great. RIP, A.D. Mitchell, okay? By the way, he got included in this trade and nobody talks about it, okay? He dropped that ball going into the end zone, was never seen from again, and then shipped off to the Jets. So in a sense, the Colts traded a second rounder, A.D. Mitchell, who was only in his second year, and 2 first-round picks. What else they did that I have a huge problem with is William mentioned it there. 2027. We're now locked into Danny Jones. Danny Dimes is our guy. We're going to give Danny Dimes $35 to $40 million for the next 3 to 4 years, and we are locked into Danny Dimes. And Chris, I'm sorry. I'm a history guy. We've seen this happen to a team in the NFL before with Danny Dimes. The Giants locked him in, and then they were desperate to get rid of him after they locked him in. I want nothing more than for the Colts to be good. Don't put me in the category of because I don't like the price the Colts paid for this trade and because I don't like how it locks them in and not an ability to make a shift in the future that somehow I'm mad that they're attempting to win. I'm not mad that they're attempting to win. I'm just being realistic. Show me the team that gave away multiple first-round draft picks for a cornerback that then took them to the Super Bowl. You can't. It's an expensive price for a need, and Carly Ursay Gordon should have taken better notes when she was on the headset about what trading away first-round picks actually cost you. Was I respectful enough there, Chris?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's hard for me to, and it's hard for us really. Like, we can say first-round picks are worth so much money and everything else like that. I don't know. I'd much rather have a Sauce Gardner in my secondary than a possibility of something good in the future, right? We know that it's hard to win the Super Bowl in the NFL. If we have an opportunity, we need to take it. And
right, you're arguing bird in the hand over what's possibly in the bush. But what I'm saying to you is Sauce Gardner doesn't necessarily mean bird in the hand.
Doesn't mean we're still in the bush either.
I get you. Williams, let me ask you about the quarterback. You're a Danny Dimes guy. You've been talking about him on this podcast for years. I saw you making a little bit of face there when I was talking about being locked into Danny Dimes. What are your thoughts here on now? Because it certainly seems, right, the Colts don't have a first-round draft pick for 2 years, so it's going to be awfully tough to get a quarterback unless they re-sign Dimes or get another one by somehow free agency or another trade.
Yeah, I think that's where you got to hope that Shanahan, that Steichen is like Shanahan, that he took, he took Jimmy Garoppolo, he took Brock Purdy to the Super Bowl. What's tough for the other 13 teams, well, the other 12 teams in the AFC, not with Lamar, not with Josh Allen, not with Patrick Mahomes, not with Joe Burrow, is that you're going up against those guys, man. You're probably going to have to beat one, if not two of those in the playoffs. The Colts are trying to get there now. They're trying to win now. And because they probably see, hey, Burrow's out, Cincinnati's not going to make the playoffs. Baltimore's struggling right now. Kansas City's got 4 or 5 losses. And then, Buffalo, who knows? So I think that you just got to hope that, and Steichen is a good play caller, you got to hope that they can manage everything around Danny Dimes. He's similar to Sam Darnold, I think, what's going on in Seattle. I mean, Sam Darnold's having an awesome year, like 7 years into the league. So it's not inconceivable. Like we have seen Brad Johnson win a Super Bowl, in 2000 with Tampa. We saw Kerry Collins
Johnson take its trays. I love it.
Trent Dilfer.
We saw Kerry Collins get to a Super Bowl in 2000 with the Giants. Now those teams had really good defenses, but now I think you substitute those good defenses for outstanding play callers. And from what I've seen, Shane Steichen is a really good play caller. I'm more concerned with you now have to pay Sauce those 3 years, basically $30 million for the next 3 years. You have a club option whether or not to bring him back in 2029. Man, now you're right. You have to pay Sauce and you have to pay Danny Dimes. So you're pretty much locked in. But the Colts are going for it. So Chris gets his wish there.
We will certainly check back on in with the Colts as we move along here. But speaking of move along, let's do that. We got one more thing to get from our guy Williams. Then we'll do some picks against the spread and a survivor pick, and we'll be out. Williams, I didn't get nearly as mad at Chris there as I thought I might about this Colts trade, but you are always mad at some coach for doing an insane decision. Who makes Are You Serious this week?
Okay. I have said from the start, from like last year, that this team was very good, but they're very dumb. And this is the Green Bay Packers. Are you serious, Matt LaFleur? Okay, you're down 13-6 with 11 minutes to go at home versus the Carolina Panthers. I repeat, 11 minutes to go versus the Carolina Panthers team that, although is decent this year, they will not be mistaken for the 2007 Patriots offense. You're at home with a good defense. You have a 4th and 8 on the Carolina 13. Just kick the field goal. Kick off, play good D. You'll get the ball back with around 4 or 5 minutes left. Now a touchdown wins it for you. Instead, they try to go for it. They don't get it. They actually stop them. They get the ball back. They score a touchdown. That would have won the game for them. We know how it ended. Carolina goes on, kicks a field goal. And remember, what is going on with the special teams? This team lost a playoff game against the Niners a few years ago because they had atrocious special teams. We have a substitute teacher who was on the sidelines kicking like 61-yard field goals. Instead, we have him on the sidelines. We bring in Brandon McManus. He's missed like 3 field goals since this dude, the substitute teacher, hit a 61-yarder. And don't forget that Matt LaFleur was the head coach in 2020 when Tom Brady came into Green Bay in the NFC Championship game, and the Packers were down by 8 with 2 minutes and 5 seconds left, 4th and goal from the 8, and they decided to kick a field goal. So which side are you on, Matt LaFleur? I don't understand his thought process here. One time he wants to be super, super conservative. Other time he wants to be super, super aggressive. Can we just get a happy medium with this guy? The Packers have got to be just livid with what's going on this year. I thought they were overrated after the Lions win. Everyone's just crowning them. I thought they were a good team, but everyone's just crowning them. They're the best team in the NFC. I was like, I did not think that. Now we know. I mean, Carolina came in and beat them. Green Bay better watch it because Monday night is the revenge of the tush push ruling. Remember, the Packers are the first team that set up the tush push to be vetoed, and you don't think that Philly does not recognize that on Monday night. So I can't wait for the tush push revenge game. And man, if I'm Philly, I'll just run that play like 27 times in a row and see if we can score a touchdown.
I was going to say, what's the over-under on how many times they run the tush push?
There should be a sports book that puts that up for Monday night.
Hey, you mentioned the special teams for the Packers there. Is our guy the pit boss, Richie Bisaccia? Is he still the special teams coordinator up there in Green Bay, or did they run him out of town so he could go deal some Keno?
Yeah, they ran him out of town.
All right, I was gonna say, cause like Richie's sitting there like, hey man, hold my beer. Like you could give me, are you serious? If you had such a problem with the special teams, you could at least shout me out for my terrible performance. But sorry, Rich, you weren't even there, bud. I'm shooting strays at you and you had nothing to do with it. He's sitting at home counting his money and he's like, hey, what are you talking about? I didn't have anything to do with it. All right, so there we go. Are you serious? Williams, you got 2 picks against the spread for us. One involves your Bears. One involves the Bears' rival, the Vikings. Kind of an NFC North flavor to your picks against the spread this week.
Yeah, we'll start with the Baltimore Ravens at the Minnesota Vikings. Too bad Jimmy is not on this pod because he loves it when I do this. I am going Ravens first half minus 2.5 on FanDuel, minus 120. This number is up to 3.5.
First time all year, I believe. First time all year.
Yes, first time all year.
Double-digit weeks. I appreciate that.
Yes, and I'll tell you why I broke it out this week. This number is up to 3.5 in the first half, even money on MGM. So make sure you get it minus 2.5 on FanDuel. Let me give you some numbers here. Harbaugh off extra rest. So we know the Ravens played last Thursday. In first halves, 62% winning percentage. Harbaugh on the road off extra rest in the first halves, 12-5 against the spread. That's 71%. He's 10-3 against the spread as a road fave with extra rest in the first half. That's 77%. And then these are Lamar numbers in the first half: 61, 36, and 2 against the spread, 63%. 53, 30, and 2 against the spread as a favorite. That's 64%. And then 28, 10, and 1 as a favorite away from home. 74% for Lamar in the first halves of these games. That is awesome. We know his immaculate record versus NFC teams also has only lost twice in like 25 game span. NFC teams just don't see Lamar as much. Captain Obvious checking in here. Extra time to prep. Their defense much healthier now than it was 6 weeks ago. Weeks 1 through 5, the Ravens were 30th in EPA per play. Since then, they are 7th in the same category, including 4th in success rate. Vikings coming off a huge road division win. They have another big division game on deck with the Bears in a crowded NFC North next week. And Flores loves the blitz. Lamar has killed the blitz this year. Listen to this. Lamar is seeing the 7th highest blitz percentage in the league, which is crazy town considering the stat I'm about to hit you with here. Lamar has a 79% completion percentage, which is the highest completion percentage by far versus blitz. 7 touchdowns, 1 pick. And with that 79% completion percentage, he has the 2nd highest yard per attempt and the 4th highest ADOT, and he's still tearing it up like that. And then last thing, little ref stat here, Sean Hockley calling the game. Home teams are only 51, 58, and 4 against the spread in his career. The Ravens on the road here, all the trends are pointing to first half dominance from the Ravens. Give me Baltimore minus 2.5 on Sunday in Minnesota.
I can't believe I'm going to do this, Williams, because I love nothing more than being angry when you only pick half of a game or a quarter of a game. But this is actually smart because J.J. McCarthy is such an unknown right now, but there is one thing we know about him. It seems like he's going to play like crap for 3 quarters and then become absolutely lit on fire at the end of the game. So you taking the Ravens at the beginning of the game, first half only, might be during the time where J.J. McCarthy is playing like somebody Vikings fans are pulling their hair out and saying, we let Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones go out of our quarterback room for this guy. So, Williams, I actually am going to back you up on that play. I can't believe it. I'm angry, sort of, that in spirit that you did just a half pick, but I got to agree with you there. Chris, you have any thoughts on this game?
No, this is a game, to me, that is a toss-up, really, because I don't know if Baltimore's back all the way yet or what to expect from Minnesota on a weekly basis.
So
is JJ bringing out his alter ego this week?
Right. We'll see him for at least a little bit. Speaking of alter egos, is it good Caleb or bad Caleb when it comes to the Bears, Williams? What do you got for us there? Plus, we got Jackson Dart. That's a little bit exciting. My guy Dayball. I've had to cool on my Giants love. Looks like the season's basically over for my G-men.
But wait, I may be surprising you here with this pick. And for anybody that was saying that I was too harsh on the Packers because I'm a Bears fan, I'm actually going with the Giants plus 4.5 here, pretty much across the board at my Chicago Bears. We have an A grade luck game here, Chris. I know you love this. So that basically signals a team that has been a top 5 lucky team, which is the Bears, against a team that has been a bottom 5 lucky team in the Giants. When backing unlucky teams with an A grade, they're 28, 16, and 2 against the spread. That's 64%. A graded road teams are 18 and 7 against the spread. That's 72%. Bears have been fortunate with forcing turnovers based off of how many yards they've given up this year, plus 13 in turnover differential that is probably bound to regress. The Giants have been pretty unlucky with some bounces, some field goal luck has went against them. They've also had some terrible ref luck. The referees totally botched the tush push false start 2 different times in that second game versus Philly. And Caleb, his weakness still is holding on to the ball just a tad too long. This isn't the D that you want to do that against, not the D line at least. Now the Giants secondary is extremely banged up, so that is a concern. But we may have some wind and possible snow here that usually favors the dog. And again, the Giants seem to play better on the road over the last decade, and the Bears just had a wild, emotional up and down win from last week. And if you look at you mentioned Jackson Dart, Rod, if you look at the quarterbacks that played against the Bears, McCarthy ran for 25 yards and a touchdown. Geno ran for 31 yards, over 7 yards per scramble. Jaden Daniels had over 50 yards rushing, and Tyler Huntley had over 50 yards rushing. And one of the big reasons why the Bears beat the Saints by double digits is because New Orleans turned it over 4 times in that game. Same with the Cowboys. How did the Bears beat them by double digits? They were +3 in the turnover department in that game. All the other games, the Bears really squeaked by or they've lost. So we have the Bears coming off a wild, emotional roller coaster win, second road game in a row. Now they come back home to face the lowly Giants before heading back out onto the road next week in a big revenge divisional game at Minnesota, where they blew the game from week 1. So this could definitely not only be a letdown spot for the Bears, but it also could be a look ahead spot for the Bears. I think the Bears can still win this game, but I think it's just a little too many points. Give me the Giants plus 4.5 at Soldier Field on Sunday.
It sounds to me a little bit like you're almost wanting the Bears to apologize for winning, and I believe your Lord and Savior Ben Johnson was quoted on video immediately after that game as saying you do not apologize for a W anytime
You do
ever.
not apologize.
So, Chris, do you have any thoughts on this Bears-Giants game?
No, I hope Williams is right. Bears lose. Giants aren't a threat in the NFC East. So yeah, maybe my Bears love that I've given them this week will be counteracted by Williams's Bears hate.
There we go. Chris counteracting the love with hate. That sounds an awful lot like our guy Chris King right there. Speaking of love, we got to send it out to our man Jimmy, who is not with us, but he is currently on a 4-game winning streak in the Survivor pool. That is impressive from our guy. And I kind of feel like he wants to go 5 weeks with his pick here, Williams. He's going with the Lions. That kind of seems like the biggest easy cherry on the board. Do you agree with that?
Yes, and even though you guys go by the rule where you don't want to take the other guy's team, I had already penciled that in for my pick, the Lions, which is bad news for me and Jimmy because the last time we took the same team was week 5 in the Rams, and we all know that they lost to the Niners that game. So I will try. If the Lions lose this week, I will blame myself and not Jimmy. So I'm taking the Lions also.
How dare you? Let me do my best, Jimmy. How dare you, Williams?
Yes.
I have the Lions pick, and you come in and you give me your bad mojo. You know I have so much trouble picking games, and you do this to me? That's my best Jimmy impression.
Yes.
Chris, who do you got for Survivor?
I am continuing this trend of trying to give the Bears love, and I'm picking the Bears over the Giants.
Oh.
Bears over the Giants. We all actually won in Survivor last week. That might have been a first for the show where all of us got through a week with our Survivor picks making it. So that was exciting. I looked at the Lions game for a little while. I looked at the Browns game, right? Because I sometimes am tempted to pick those absolute slogfest that nobody wants to watch. But I went for another thing that I like to prove in the Survivor pool. It's paid off for me a couple of times this year. I call it the kitchen sink game. And this week, the team playing the kitchen sink game, in my opinion, is the Houston Texans. They cannot afford to lose this game and fall further behind the Jaguars and the Colts if they want to hold on to their faint playoff hopes. Certainly can't lose it if they think they might end up being a wild card team. So the Texans will be bringing everything they got. And CJ Stroud may still be good. I never know anymore when it comes to that guy, but the defense is supposed to be good. DeMeco Ryans is supposed to be a good coach. If Houston wants to stick around and have the rest of this year matter, they better beat the Jaguars on Sunday, who's a team that I'm fairly certain is dumb, the way Williams talks about the Packers making dumb mistakes. And I don't think the Jaguars are all that good. So give me Houston. Williams, do you have wins league updates for us?
Yes, but before we do that, I want to circle back to what Chris said. I am not rooting against the Bears. I don't think they're going to lose. I'm just taking the Giants plus 4.5. So let's get that clear, Chris. Hopefully we can middle this. Happy medium. So Chris can stay alive for the 7th time in Survivor, and I can cover the Giants pick. But yes, the wins league getting interesting. Jimmy only had 2 wins last week, so he's up to 26. But that still puts him 8 behind 3rd place, which is Rod. You came back down to earth. You only had 3 wins last week, Rod. You're at 34. Chris only had 2 wins last week. He went up to 36. I had a huge week. I lost with the Chiefs, but that is the only team I lost with. I got 7 wins, so I'm up to 38. So I jumped Chris by 2 wins here. So now we're going into week 10. We got like 4 teams on a bye. So yeah, it's getting hot and heavy here for the second half of the wins league.
Can I call for a recount?
To get to the point. A recount. I love it. That'd be great. We're going to start to get to the point, though, Williams, where we're going to be able to pick out matchups that are going to have a big swing in the wins league. If we're looking at only like, what is it, a 3-game gap between you and me and Chris? Is that all it is?
Yeah,
4.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, and a
4.
big swing one last week was Bears and Bengals. Me versus Chris there. So yeah, that's another big one this week. Me and Chris, Chargers and Steelers, Sunday Night Football. So
go Bolts.
That should be interesting.
Bolts. I'll tell you what, now I'm in 3rd in the NFL wins league. I'm pulling up the rear in the NBA wins league, which is quite frankly the league that I should be a heck of a lot better at. So just wins league drafts are apparently not for me. But alas, we will see how the wins league updates next week. We'll see how we check in on the survivor pool. Jimmy will be back with us next week. And Chris, the last time we tried to record without Jimmy, it was an absolute dumpster fire. And this week we absolutely made it through it. I didn't even want to jinx us by saying anything in the beginning, but Chris, we made it.
Yeah, so far, so good. Let's hope everything uploads. I do want to get on a serious note before we end, though. There was a tragedy that happened last night in the NFL. Marshawn Nealon has passed away from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. I want to give prayers and thoughts out to his family and his loved ones. This is a kid who seemed to have everything moving in a positive direction in his life, and it goes to show that we don't always know everything that's going on. I want to reiterate that even if you listeners out there feel like you may be hitting rock bottom or going through something you don't think you can get out of, this is not the way. Go out, seek help. All right, there's avenues out there. Unfortunately for Marshawn, he thought that's what he had to do. That's unfortunate. I just feel horrible. Let's all make sure people out there are healthy and get the help that they need.
Amen, Chris. Well said. The details of this story are horrific, and I second what you said there about seek help. I will trumpet the effects of therapy. I've talked to somebody myself over the years. They make it even easier than it used to be these days. You can just get them on a little link Zoom type meeting there in the evening. So as Chris stated, man, if you're having some trouble thinking that things are weighing on top of you, talking to somebody that that's not in your family or not your friend, as weird as it seems, is quite helpful. So get it done. Williams, any final thoughts before we close up shop?
Well said. Just man, thoughts and prayers to the family. It's man, heartbreaking.
Certainly is, man. It reminds us that like we like to joke and poke fun at coaches. And can you believe that play happened? But like there is a serious side to all of this sports stuff. And there are real people behind the folks we watch on Sundays and Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays, like on the NBA, Chris. That's what I was doing there. We're getting ready to talk some NBA on the other side with our guy, Chris. Or with our guy, Jimmy, who's going to join us through the magic of a time machine and tape editing. Chris, close it up.
Like, comment, subscribe. Goodbye.
Welcome to the Fast Break, the fastest 15 minutes in the NBA. Jimmy, Rod, and Chris are here as always. But we need to talk about something else first, don't we, Rod?
Yes, Jimmy. We didn't have you around for our football show this week. Chris and I already spoke about this at the top, but I wanted you to give your thoughts on your favorite Saved by the Bell episode.
There are so many favorite Saved by the Bell episodes, as we've already talked about, I'm sure. There's the prom, which is terrific. There's all the Stacey Carosi stuff that was really good. But there is one line from one show that I just love, and it's "The game never stopped." It's the Mystery Weekend Saved by the Bell episode. My boy Larry Cedar, we're talking 3-2-1 contact. We're talking after school stuff. I love that guy. He was in a lot of shows that we watched. I just thought that was fun. It was Saved by the Bell does Clue. You know, they go to this murder mystery theater, but someone actually dies, but they really don't because, again, Rod, the game never stopped.
That's fabulous. That's absolutely fabulous. The theme tends to be, right, like the weird event that happened around Bayside High, right? Like that certainly was some of the answers that Chris, I, and Williams gave at the top, and you, of course, had the same. I'd forgotten sort of all about that one. That's a good one, Jimmy Jim. Chris, you remember that one off the top of your head?
That's a deep cut. I mean, that's for the true fans out there.
Thank you.
Right? Jimmy's out here like naming characters, like one-off characters, right off the top of his head. I don't know.
I
how
didn't
many
have
people
Larry
that can
Cedar
do
in my
that.
head. I had to find him, but yeah.
Oh, that is good stuff, Jimmy, but I don't need to delay the fast break any longer. But I know that you would be remiss if you didn't get in on this 35th anniversary of the I'm So Excited anniversary or episode of Saved by the Bell. So that's why we talked about it. So you got your shot.
Well, one thing I am not scared about and I am excited about is I am back, baby. I am back. After 1 week, you know, you're throwing all these ringers in. Okay, I'm tied for first, but that's okay. We're throwing all these ringers into the Wins League. All right, you're giving people the last picks, the 76ers. Who gives Wu-Tang the 76ers as the last pick? That's ridiculous. But he and I are tied with 24 wins apiece. Then we have Rod at, well, no, we don't. We have Derek and Chris at 21 and Rod at 19. Rod, your Celtics, your Wizards, your Clippers aren't really holding it up for you, are they?
No, I'm constantly reminding myself, looking down at my Wins League squad, that the NBA is a marathon, not a sprint. Shout out to Running Zach, who I mentioned at the top of this pod as my favorite Saved by the Bell episode when Zach was a cross-country athlete. Shout out to that. So, you know, I mean, it is a marathon, not a sprint. So I think the Clippers are ultimately going to end up with a few more wins than losses. I think the same will be said for the Heat. I think the Rockets and the Knicks could still be above 50-win teams. So I'm not giving up, Jimmy, but you're absolutely right that it's not great for me now.
Chris, your Lakers. Wow, 6 wins for the Lakers out of nowhere, kind of off the top rope without their entire team for most of the year. Not too bad. And our Pacers finally did get a win, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Then they played the Nets tonight, and so I think the Nets are going to get a win.
Yeah, speaking of the Nets, who has poor Derek, still the winless Nets. What are you going to do? It's sad. Picking the Thunder first overall, I think worked out well for me. 8 wins there, but the Magic, second round pick, Magic aren't doing well for me there. Pelicans with 1 win, Warriors 5, Hornets 3. So I'm really top heavy at the very top there. I do want to talk about one team though. We have the Grizzlies at 3 wins, and hey, Ja Morant in the news again, getting a fight with the coach. I don't know. I kind of like the coach here. He's like, I'm just going to talk to somebody in front of everybody on the team. We'll see what happens. Chris, what do you think on that?
I like people being forced to have accountability, right? I have probably been more lenient towards Ja Morant than most people on this pod over the last few years. At some point, though, you got to be like, okay, right? Is this how you are? If you're not going to change, then I don't know if this is going to work. I mean, because it's obviously not working as well as it should.
So, Rod, he was suspended for a game, brought back. He's playing tonight. He's got, 23 minutes logged, so it looks like he's doing okay there. At what point is the pain in the neck level and the production level flipping on Ja where it's just not worth it anymore for the Grizzlies?
How many times are we going to do this, Jimmy? How many times are we going to do this with the Memphis Grizzlies? How many times are we going to do this with Ja Morant? I mean, we thought when Ja checked himself into a rehab-esque facility in Florida. Does anybody remember that? Right? We thought that was going to be the time that the Grizzlies were holding Ja Morant accountable and that he was going to come back and he was going to be ready to go. Then we had the incident with the nightclub, right? We thought, okay, this is the time that the Grizzlies are finally going to hold Ja Morant accountable and he's going to come back. None of it's worked. Ja Morant continues to agitate and make decisions that baffle the Grizzlies, baffle the NBA intelligentsia, baffle me. And there's one or two ways that this can go, Jimmy. All right. When you have this situation where you have an organization that is trying to back a new coach, trying to move in a new direction, they can put their foot in the water and they could say, hey, no more. Ja, we know that we let you have your entourage hang around and your dad gets courtside seats and this slid and that slid and you made the team late and we stayed an extra night so you could go to this place. But those days are gone. This is how it's going to be moving forward. We volley it back to you. And so far, Jimmy, Ja Morant has said, nah, I'm going to go ahead and turn that situation up a little bit. I'm not going to cool it off. I'm not going to downplay it. And so it's going to continue to simmer there, right? Like I can't help but think of Bugs Bunny in the cartoon in the pot, right? And he's just sitting there and we're trying to make it get hotter and hotter and hotter. So ultimately there'll be a boil. And I think that's what's going to happen in Memphis. I think there's no trade value for Ja Morant, but I think the hand is going to get forced.
I do think there's additional issues in Memphis past Ja Morant. They used to be a hard-nosed, lockdown defense type of team, and that is definitely not the case anymore. They're allowing 120 points per game, so they have other issues they need to fix as well.
Yeah, there's so many things that the Grizzlies have to go over. At some point, you know, is it worth exploring a 75 cents on the dollar or 50 cents on the dollar trade for Morant, who is under contract for this year and 2 more after that? So there will always be that team that says, hey, he'll be fine with us. You know, is Memphis too close to home? But again, if Memphis trades him, he's the one that brings butts in the seats. People do love to come and see him play, even though he is not going full tilt like he used to driving to the basket. I mean, his numbers are really down on.
How about this, though? Let me throw this out to you. If we're going to live in a world where we're doing trade machine with Ja Morant, can I entice you on a cold city up north in the Western Conference that has actually been to the Western Conference Finals 2 straight years, but desperately needs a point guard? Now, this team doesn't have a lot of draft capital because, unfortunately, they traded a future pick for Rob Dillingham, who's supposed to be a point guard and can't see the floor for them. And they have Mike Conley, who we all love Mike Conley, right? We love Mike Conley. His dad was a high jumper athlete back in the day. Mike Conley won the horse competition during COVID. Anybody remember that? Jimmy, you know I do. I bring up Mike Conley winning the horse competition all the time. Bingo for those of you out there that are longtime listeners. But can we maybe move Chris's guy, Julius Randle, and a couple of other pieces that make things happen?
Dillingham.
And maybe Dillingham, and bring Ja up to Minnesota. And then we've got a team with Jaden McDaniels, who's a pretty good defender. We got Rudy Gobert at the back end to clear things up. And then we got a vertical threat for both Ja and Anthony Edwards. And we get a scenario where, boom, one guy's driving, next guy's driving. Anthony Edwards can shoot pretty good. I don't know. Put him in Minnesota if we're going to trade Ja, I guess is what I'm saying, Jimmy.
So that would be really similar to the thing that you guys talked about earlier today, which was the Colts and, you know, their trade for Sauce Gardner, where they're going all in for this year because this year they think they can win the Super Bowl. And they don't care about next year. They don't care about the year after that. A 2027 quarterback draft class, they don't need a first round pick. They don't care about it, right? That'd be kind of the same thing here where you don't care about next year because every year, Chris, is your time. This is your window. This is your year. I don't know. What do you think on that, Chris?
I don't know if I can see a scenario with Ant and Ja being able to be the best version of themselves while they're playing together.
Interesting. Too
They're
similar
both
as far as
playmakers.
attacking?
Yeah, they're both
Okay.
playmakers, all right? They both create their own shot. They both like to work with the ball. Ant does work better off the ball than what Ja does, but they are both exciting playmakers that can create their own shots. I don't know if you always need 2 of them on the court all the time. Great to have in the fourth quarter, close games, especially playoffs. When you need that bucket, you have 2 playmakers out there that can beat just about anybody. But past that, I don't know. I don't know if that works out.
Something that does work out is we've had a lot of really fun games here recently, and I want to talk about one. That Bulls 76ers game from the other night was amazing. I was able to watch the fourth quarter on that. Bulls gave up 45 points in the first quarter, come back to win. I don't think the 76ers scored in the last 7 minutes or something like that to give the Bulls the win. What great NBA action we're seeing this year. There's been a lot of fun games, Rod.
Yeah, Jimmy, there has been a whole lot of fun games, and I would love to participate with you in a discussion of that Bulls-Sixers game, but unfortunately, I was not able to watch that game. And the reason I was not able to watch that game relates to my Rod Damnation of the week. So, Jimmy, if we could take a quick divergence and you hit that music, then after a little Rod Damnation, I'd love to discuss how we have had a lot of great games.
Someday, Rod, someday I will get the timing on that right, okay? I promise you. Rod Damnation of the week.
Listen, you know me. I'm always going to keep talking. It's tough for you to know when I'm going to stop because I basically never stop talking. So I'm going to continue off of the theme that I led this season off with, okay? Remember how I discussed how now as an NBA fan, we're expected to have Amazon Prime. We are expected to have Peacock. We are expected to still have some sort of cable to be able to watch on ESPN. We have to have a way to get our locals.
Yeah, not all cable can, though.
Right, exactly. YouTube TV right now can't even watch.
I gotta get another thing.
That can even add to my thing here. But on top of it all, you can pay for the NBA League Pass, and they say you're supposed to get access to all of the games. Oh, but guess what? There's this one pesky, measly little rule called the NBA blackout rule. And the NBA, in its infinite wisdom, has decided that Rod Morgan, who resides in Mishawaka, Indiana, and absolutely cannot get the Chicago Sports Network. It's not available on YouTube TV. I looked. Not available for a way for me to pay extra for it to get it. I couldn't figure out how to do it that night. I was not able to watch the Chicago Bulls 76ers game because I'm blacked out in Mishawaka because I'm in the Bulls home market. So it's not enough that I could pay for all of those streaming services. And it's not enough, Jimmy, that I paid the league itself directly for the damn league pass. I was still somehow expected to have the Chicago Sports Network to prop up local sports and the regional sports networks. No, this needs to get figured out soon. Regional sports networks are dying. There's no reason for them to exist. I apologize to the David Kaplans of the world and the other great sports broadcasters out there who maybe aren't quite good enough for national, but now won't have jobs because these networks are going away. But it's just the facts of life. The NBA needs to stop with the blackouts. I would have loved to watch this 76ers Bulls game. Jimmy, frankly, I would have loved to have watched any Bulls game this year, but I haven't been able to watch a single stinking one because every Bulls game is blacked out for me here in the Mishawaka market. Rod Damnation.
Rod, you're supposed to go to the games. You live close enough. I mean, it's only how far away is United Center? I mean,
I thought about this actually. I did. I thought I can get to Indianapolis quicker than I can to United Center. So I can literally, because of the way that Indiana highways work and the new 31. Yeah, I can get down to Gainbridge Fieldhouse a hell of a lot quicker than I can get to United Center, because the United Center's location, I got to get through most of the mess of Chicago anyway before I could even get there.
Actually, Gainbridge is like 3 roads away from you. I mean, it really is. That's how great it is. That's how great Indiana did that. Chris, you're somebody who has been here since the onset of television and the NBA. I want to sit down. What is the benefit of having these blackout rules? Because no one's going to the game that is more than 50 miles away. They're not going to every game, Chris.
No, they're not. And you're getting the people that travel maybe go 2 to 3 times a year, right? If they're hardcore fans, there's going to be exceptions to that rule, let's be fair. But the blackouts don't do what they're supposed to do anymore. And Rod's not wrong about regional sports networks. It's unless you're a Division II college fan, there's no need to have them, right? There just isn't. Baseball's just as bad too. But really, if I was the NBA, and yeah, it's nice to sell League Pass and you can get all that, but I think they'd make more money if you make it truly an a la carte. Be like, okay, I want this game specifically and this game specifically tonight, so I'm going to pay my $2.99 to $5.99, whatever they decide to do it, and just get those games that night. And then you're giving real power to the fans to watch what they want.
No, Chris, what's even worse is you can do that, but I'm still not allowed to pay a la carte for the Bulls game because I'm blacked out.
What do they charge a la carte per game?
I think it's like $4.99, $5.99, something like that, maybe even $3.99. Yeah, something like that. So I mean,
Right.
it really adds
that's
up.
the thing.
Because you can get the
Like
league pass
Rod
for
can literally
$109.
not watch the Bulls.
Yeah, it's just
Rod could offer $1,000
Yeah.
to watch a Bulls game. He can't watch it.
I can understand blackouts when it was over the air network TV type of
Sure.
thing, right? That's a free
like when I could get
type of
WGN
broadcast.
Right? When Jimmy,
Right.
when the Bulls were on WGN, right? The big back in the old Ray Clay
Yeah.
days, you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
great days, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I could just pick it up on my antenna and watch the Bulls. That ain't how it works anymore. And it's just wrong that this team who's trying to gain traction and be the Bulls again, they're getting blacked out from the Northern Indiana market.
Yeah, where you would think would be their highest viewership, and you would get more marketing and advertisement dollars created out of that versus sending it to somebody in Naples, Florida.
Well, it's not going to change anytime soon. We all know that. Before we get to Chris's hardware hierarchy, I do want to talk about a couple other things, and I want to open it up for you two as well to talk about what you'd like to talk about this year. Ton of injuries. Just want to, it just kind of sucks at the beginning of the year with so many people out. Walker Kessler out for the year. Obi Toppin has to get a new foot, apparently. It's just so many bad things that are going on. It really stinks. It's not the amount of games right now. It's not people resting. It's just one of those things where you go from zero all summer long as far as competitiveness goes in these games. Okay. And then preseason is probably like a -5 in the competitiveness, but then you go to 100 right away and you're going and you're going and you're going. And it's just too much for people.
It's just,
You know who's not having injury problems?
Well, the Pacers are, because they're leading the league in injuries.
Nope. It's the guys that played in the Euro basketball championship this summer. Those guys aren't getting hurt.
Wasn't Luka out for a little bit?
he was.
I know. That's literally the only guy I know that played in the Euro.
Right, and
But-
he's
okay.
he's
so
played
so,
in 4. He's still averaging
but
over
will
30.
That come back? Will that come back to haunt them later in the season, though?
I suppose we hear that it is the buildup of minutes over time, right? That it's not so much, only this minute's here, only that minute's there. I guess I sort of do believe in that like, yeah, you compact all of these playoff minutes they have to play and all the minutes they have to play in these games together, try to save minutes as much as you can. I believe in that. I mean, that's the reason I used to give Tom Thibodeau such crap. It's like, Tibbs, come on, man. Let's save 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes here and there every once in a while if we can. And Tibbs was like, no, ice, defense. You know what I mean? Like Tibbs just absolutely couldn't have it. He had to win all those games. And what did it do for him? Got him fired in New York. So I don't know, Jimmy. I don't know what the answer for the NBA is other than to admit these guys now play a different game. I'm sorry. We have the tracking for the running and the miles and the, like you're expected to close out to a 3-point shooter as a 7-footer now. The Chief, God bless him, Robert Parrish didn't move when he played back in the day in the NBA. These guys are expected to cover shorter, smaller guys. We're running up and down the court. The Pacers, God bless them, hurting as you mentioned this year, but their run to the finals last year have inspired a whole bunch more teams to press full court, to play a few more guys off the bench, to try to run up and down faster. And we're expecting these guys to be able to do it 82 times a year. The answer lies with the greedy owners and the league ownership to realize, what we need to do? We need to start the season a little bit later because football kicks our ass anyway. And we need to cut some of these games down, and we can go later into the summer because the Olympics be damned. We can own more of the summer and stay away from the NFL and cut down the games. That's the answer, Jimmy J.
All right. And with that, it's time for the Kings hardwood hierarchy. Chris, last week we had the King, OKC, the Queen, the Spurs, the Prince, the Bulls, and 76ers, both undefeated at the time. And the Jester was your Orlando Magic. Chris, who you got as our King of the week?
I mean, this hasn't changed because they haven't lost. All right?
Valid.
OKC still has the belt around their waist, Jimmy. They're the king. They haven't lost.
Jalen Williams still hasn't played. I'm just going to go ahead and just point that out. Jalen Williams still hasn't played. He dropped a 40-piece in Game 7 for the team that won the finals last year. He was an All-NBA selection. He hasn't played, and OKC hasn't missed a friggin' beat. It's disgusting.
Right? Just, you're real happy you got him in the Wins League, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right. And I know, Derek, you're going to like this. The Bulls have made it to Queen. That game where they beat the 76ers makes it so. The Spurs get passed up, and the Spurs end up as the Prince.
So Josh Giddey is having an amazing start to the season, and it's kind of what we all didn't see coming because no one did, right? He was on the OKC Thunder and just was like fourth or fifth down already after a couple years, was able to get out and play well. Obviously, he had a lot of stuff going on in OKC. That's behind him now, and this great start to the season, Rod.
I didn't hit my mute time there. The thing I need to do here is shout out Bulls management. Yes, no, you didn't hear that wrong. Bulls management deserves a kudos on this, okay? They completely ate it when everybody said, wait a minute, the Bulls didn't get a pick with Josh Giddey when they gave away Alex Caruso, right? And then everybody said, okay, well, the Bulls absolutely have to re-sign Giddey, and the re-signing of the contract is going to kill him because they're going to be forced to give him 35, 40 million. That's what you have to do for a guy that you trade for. And the Bulls said, no. Restricted free agency is our friend. They played it out all summer long, and the Bulls figured out a way to land Josh Giddey to a 4-year, $100 million contract. $25 million to put up the kind of production Giddey seems like he's going to give the Bulls for a couple years. You got to give Karnisovas his flowers on that one, Jimmy Jam.
Yeah, that's a win for sure there. Let's see what continues to happen, because we all know the Bulls are kind of like the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to be 500. That's it. Going to happen. They're going to get in the playoffs, and by that I mean play-in game for the Bulls, and they're going to lose. That's it. That's what's going to happen. It's a rah-rah carnivorous. Sorry.
This brings up
Chris. Derek was so happy that you put the Bulls in the Queen, and then Jimmy just came in and crapped all over him at the end. I'm sorry.
Well, here's the question, right? We have two teams: is the Queen and the Prince, and the Spurs and the Bulls.
Yes.
We just talked about Giddey. The Spurs have Victor, right? Are either one of these guys enough to make these teams elite and make a playoff run?
Well, I mean, obviously Victor can only score 9 points against some teams, so he's not elite anymore. I mean, that's ridiculous.
No, I'm not saying they're not elite. I'm saying, are they enough for these teams to make it over that play-in game hump? Is Giddey enough? Is Victor enough?
Victor's enough to take them to the finals this year, the Western Conference Finals. He could easily do that for sure. So he's enough to get him.
I think they need Fox back before we think maybe he gets to the finals. But you're not. I think you're not far off. That defense is filthy.
Here's my answer to you on the Bulls then, Chris, since Jimmy Jam mentioned that Wemby is perfectly enough for the Spurs. I think the Bulls don't have quite enough around Giddey, but Kobe White. I'm sorry. I like the guy, but he hasn't played, and this Bulls team is kind of sort of figuring something out. He's not signed to a contract past the end of this year. Perhaps it's time for the Bulls to trade Kobe White for another piece, maybe even two littler pieces that help them out. So look for that one, maybe.
I also like the Bulls play. The Bulls played 10 players last night, or sorry, a couple nights ago in that game, and all of them played decent minutes except for Julian Phillips, only played 5. But really, getting that big rotation, like we talked about a little bit earlier, really does help prolong all this season and the wins. But Chris, we have a jester.
Yeah, I mentioned how good San Antonio's defense is. Let's talk about how horrible someone's offense is, all right? And that's a team that we didn't think was going to have a horrible offense, but the Dallas Mavericks. You're dead last in scoring in this league, all right? Just horrible. So they're this week's jester.
So Rod, you're my guy on this, right? Cooper Flagg has been point guard. And that is like the hardest thing to do when you've literally never done it in your life. Is this going to be worth it in the long run?
You would hope so, right? You have a couple of instances to point to historically. Now, they're not very fair athletic comparisons, right? Because the two guys that you can point to happen to be all-time great players in Giannis and LeBron. But each of these guys got a chance to run a little bit of point guard when they were rookies, and each of their coaches said, we think this is going to help them further their skill set in their career. So you got to believe that that's going to be true for Cooper Flagg. We were all told that Cooper Flagg was going to be the number one hotshot white American at the top of the rankings. And Austin Reeves out there in LA right now is saying, nah, hold on for a second. I think I still got this crowd.
I'm fascinated to see what happens to Austin Reeves next year. Who knows what can happen with him? I think that'll be great. But we will have to figure that out a little bit later. We've had 26 minutes in our 15-minute. Do you want to talk about anything else here, Rod?
No, we definitely need to move on. But this is what happens. Listen, folks, get ready. When the NFL season wraps up, Jimmy, Chris, and I have even more time and space to wax poetically about the NBA. But I think we got some good stuff in this week, Jim. Sometimes you got to run over.
And with that, you've been listening to Balls and Brew and the Fast Break on the More You Knows Podcasting Network.
Like, comment, subscribe. Goodbye, Net.
Welcome to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the More You Knows Podcasting Network. In the ring with Jimmy, Chris, and Rod. And we have had a huge development here. Saturday night's main event, a new champion, and an amazing show. Rod, I couldn't contain myself throughout the 2.5 hours.
Oh, Jimmy, I love that you set me up this way. I want so badly to agree with you because I got to a point where I was gonna be excited for the CM Punk Ultimate Championship win. Okay, I was there. I begrudgingly have respected Phil. I even started to sort of kind of like him. I still think his promos are a little more self-indulgent than anybody else in the WWE, but he can be funny at times. He references old wrestling history. He clearly loves it. So I'm there with CM Punk. I no longer despise Phil. Call him by CM Punk, want him to win, but that left me flat, Jim. That absolutely left me flat. I was honestly trying to think of a championship changeover in the past couple of years since I've been back doing this with you, and I guess it's way more than a couple of years now since I've been back, but I was trying to think of one that I cared less about, and I was struggling to come up with one, Jim, and it bums me out because I want big things for CM Punk, but this just wasn't it to me.
Chris, it didn't seem like a big event like we had talked about, because that's why we didn't want him to win, because we wanted it to be more of a spectacle. But this Saturday night's main event was kind of nothing, right?
Yeah, they could have built up something a lot more, I think. But what really, really ticks me off is the fact that here I am after everything that happened over the weekend, right? All these belts changing hand, some of these great matches we did get to see, and I wake up Tuesday morning realizing I'm on the same side as Logan Paul. All right, that just drives me nuts right now. And F you WWE for making me think,
wow,
great, I'm going to be able to get back on the Vision train with Braun and Bronson. They're going to be fighting Punk and Paul. I hate them. No. Paul has to deck Punk, and I'm like, go Paul.
I will say this. Logan Paul is a very good person to put in the ring with your champion because everyone hates him. CM Punk is the good guy, and Logan Paul is a very good wrestler. Okay, he is a very good wrestler. So they're going to milk this for the next couple weeks. I don't think it's a survive. I don't know. It might be a Survivor Series. I don't know what they're going to do there. But I think it'll be a good match, and it'll give Punk a pretty good win as champion, Rod.
Jimmy, I'm with you, and I say go all the way. I say go all the way. This is a way that we can save this Punk situation a little bit. If we basically inject Logan Paul as the new third member of the Vision, where he starts just rolling with Braun and Bronson, and they continue with their rhetoric of the future of the WWE. I mean, as much as I love my guy Seth, I was always kind of like, so a guy who's pushing his 40s and has been injured a boatload of times in the last 5 years, he's the future of the WWE? I'm not so sure about that. But these other two guys, I get that for. And Logan Paul, he's right there, man. As you said it, Jimmy, you can dislike him all you want. You can call him a fake YouTuber. You can find him annoying. You can say that, you know, he's the epitome of white bro culture, but the man can wrestle. And so put him in the ring with the champ. The champ's going to get a big time win on him. And I think he's the perfect person to step in with the Vision. And I say, don't just make this a one-off. Let's run with him and Heyman and the Brawns together for a while.
They did leave it up to interpretation, for sure. Is this he just doesn't like CM Punk? Or, Chris, so you are just, you don't know what to do now, right? You're just all over the place.
I would much rather see the belt on Logan Paul than CM Punk. So let him hit him in the face a few more times with those brass knuckles, right?
Wow.
But Logan Paul's the type of dude that he'll do that just so he doesn't have to get another tsunami from Bronson Reed.
Maybe Logan Paul's wife wrestles, and they could do anyway. I do like, though, Rod, I do like this type of vision that we're talking about here, because then that even makes the Seth Rollins return bigger, and it gives him something to do at a Mania when he's coming back and say, hey, I brought you together. What's going on here? And then, obviously Heyman is a snake, so he can do whatever he needs to. I don't know. I like it. We'll see what's going on with CM Punk moving forward there. Back to main event, though, real quick. Cody Rhodes beat Drew McIntyre. Again, he used a belt that was on the ground. I don't want to see this match again. I'm sorry. They're both good wrestlers. I like them both. I don't want to see this again. They've kind of ruined it for me. I'm sorry, Chris.
What are they going to do with Cody? Right? I mean, this run has lasted as long as it can. He was in a much better position without the belt. They didn't need to give him back the belt from Cena, but whatever. Right? What do they gain by him keeping the belt after Saturday night? They don't gain anything.
Well, they have the story that he's kind of turning to the dark side.
But that's
Rod.
always his story.
So,
We've seen this before. This is the same. It's all the same with Cody. The way Chris was talking about it is the same with Cody, right? That if you look at it just on the most easy, just scrape by passing view of it, is exactly the same. He's the white meat baby face who's in the ring facing against all the odds. But then if you even look at the slight twists and turns that they give to all the stories, they're all the same. Cody's going to shake hands in the ring with the guy, and then the guy's going to turn on him, and Cody's going to be like, but I thought we were friends, and this was just about the business. Or Cody's going to be the one who's going to turn on him and do some dastardly stuff, because remember, he has a neck tattoo. I'm just so over it. And Chris, honestly, I need to get a well-being check with you here. Are you cool with your guy Drew McIntyre's character being, I'm the dude who talks shit but loses? That, I mean, that's basically where we're at with Drew.
Yeah, no, I'm not happy. It's they're just using him
so much. Yeah, no, I'm not happy.
They're just using him as fodder, essentially, to get them through a brief period, and they've done it over and over again, right?
So, I mean, he's been fodder for a bunch of dudes for a couple of years now, where he's just like, hey, Drew, we need to cook this guy up. Can you please lay on your back? Just a rough look for the Scottish superstar.
Right, with someone who looks the part, like you said many a times, this dude is a professional wrestler. He is great in the ring, on the mic, looks the part. He doesn't have to have a long title reign. It could have been a month or two, right? If he would have taken
Cody
Cody
a long
out.
title reign. It was 4 minutes or something. So goodness.
It's 5 minutes and 22 seconds, Rod. Remember,
we had Jade Cargill beat Tiffany Stratton in a weird match, because it was one of those where I wasn't 100% honed in on the match, but it seemed just like a nothing match for Tiffany, and Jade won. Jade needs to be a super heel and needs to not have any matches over 2.5 minutes for the next 6 months and just destroy everyone like we talked about last week.
Yeah, if she gets an immediate rematch with Tiffany Stratton, I don't want to see that either, right? I want to see Tiffany go on to other business, because if we're going to try to build Tiffany back up, which I don't agree with, but clearly that's going to be their move, you can't just have Tiffany get worn out by Jade again. So you got to move her on to fighting with somebody else, and Jade's got to start wearing out other people. And then I like it for only one reason, because I've mentioned many times that Jade is not great on the microphone. She's a little rigid in the ring at times, so that's not wonderful. So the squash matches will help her, but it will also set up a great foil for Bianca, Jimmy, which is what we've talked about has been her biggest problem for a while, is that she just didn't have anybody that she had sparks with. She didn't have anybody that could match with her, and her and Jade could put together an absolute banger, hopefully, right? That's why we got to get Jade a bunch of squash matches, because you've talked about it. Jade needs to work. She needs to wrestle dark matches. She needs to be on Evolve, right? Send Jade Cargill down to Evolve with Peter Rosenberg in the belt to get a couple of matches in. You know what I mean? She needs to wrestle, so when she gets in the ring with the EST, she can seem like somebody that deserves to be there.
And again, there's a difference between wrestling Ricky Saints, and one-on-one at the Performance Center, and wrestling someone in front of a crowd. That is a huge difference, and that's something that the wrestlers don't have anymore, as they are not on the road 4 or 5 days a week, which is better for their health. Let's be perfectly clear on that. But you do have some other effects on that. Dom Mysterio, of course, won his Intercontinental title 3-way with Rusev and Penta. Rusev continues to not be anything. Unfortunately, I love Rusev. I am pro Rusev.
That's what he gets when he goes up against the genius of Dom Mysterio. All right, it's not Rusev's fault.
Although he did.
Rod has become a believer. All right, he admitted it in our dark text over the weekend. He is now a believer in the genius of Dom. All right, Rusev had no shot.
He did scare the living hell out of that kid, though, which I thought was fantastic. The kid hit him on the shoulder and don't touch me, and the kid screamed, but then the kid laughed after because he kind of got it, which I thought was great because that kid could have been traumatized forever.
Second best moment of the night, Jimmy, and the first best moment of the night wasn't even any of the matches.
It wasn't. They said randomly John Cena will announce what his last match will be. Wow, John Cena's here. That's kind of cool. No, he wasn't. It was a videotaped prepackaged, but that's okay. 16-man tournament. People from WWE, NXT, and people that don't even work here. They want you to think it's Edge. Edge isn't in it. There's no way. I'm sorry. But Joe Hendry might be in it. Joe Hendry might be in this tournament.
Say his name.
He's going to be in the tournament. There's no way he's not going to be in the tournament. I'm sorry. But we do have the first two matches. And a couple matches we haven't really seen, I don't think, very much. Damian Priest and Rusev. That is going to be a hard-hitting match, Chris. I think that'll be fun. Both guys kind of need the win, though. That's the only thing that worries me.
They do. They're probably going to give it to Rusev, though, right? I think.
Is Aleister Black going to interfere again?
I hope not, but you're right. That should be a great match. I think those two guys would beat the hell out of each other in the ring, and that would be fun to watch.
Jimmy, who would win, Aleister Black or Steve Blackman?
I think it wasn't Steve Blackman legit.
But that's what they tell us about Aleister Black, right? So who would win,
Yeah,
the ultimate weapon, Steve Blackman or Aleister Black?
Well, I think Steve Blackman could get an upper hand on him quickly because Aleister's got to come up on that thing and raise up. So Blackman can just give him a little shot.
I don't know if Blackman's wife ever showed up and helped him throw a fireball in somebody's face either. I'm not sure if that was in the ultimate weapon, Steve Blackman's bag.
I don't know. That's a real woman. That's real love.
Rod, well, yeah, no question. Rod, were you around when Steve Blackman were you watching when he was actually wrestling?
Dude, that fall that Shane McMahon did in that match versus him
one of the most boring, the most boring competitor ever, I think, in WWE. Yes. It was just, he went out and he did his thing and he left.
He had one look that he would do on his face, right? And he had one gimmick. I'm mad at you for disrespecting me. Like that was basically it. Or he would have the silent, some other faction would bring him in for a couple of weeks as like just some extra backup, right? We need some muscle. Get Steve Blackman on the kendo stick.
Two guys we don't have to worry about their attitude, their persona, are Sheamus and Shinsuke Nakamura. I love this. They might kill each other. This is going to be a terrific matchup. And again, Rod, though, you can kind of see either guy winning here.
Shinsuke's got to be ready for it too, right, Jimmy? Because we've talked about this. Shinsuke's one of those guys that you really got to stroke Shinsuke's ego a little bit. You got to make sure he's had a couple of days off. You know what I mean? We got to have a big crowd that's hot for him. You know what I mean? There needs to be a lot of stuff to get Shinsuke to bring everything that he's got in him, because you can tell when Shinsuke's only halfway going, and it really shows. He looks a little robotic. His moves don't seem to land with as much furor. And that's never the case with Sheamus. So Shinsuke better bring it, because he'll end up looking bad, because Sheamus has banger after banger after banger.
I will say, this is getting a little deep, and we won't go too much further, but in New Japan, Shinsuke Nakamura was huge in there, and he had a big rivalry with Hiroshi Tanahashi, who was he's basically their John Cena, and he's retiring this year, and his last match is going to be at Wrestle Kingdom 20. And Nakamura has been someone who has been rumored maybe to be that opponent. Now, the amount of politics that has to go into this is staggering, because New Japan has a working relationship with All Elite Wrestling, AEW. So
that's the janitors league, Chris. That's the janitors league that I talk about. The other one, that's who AEW.
The expressions on this podcast are not necessarily those of the producer. They probably are of the network, but not necessarily of the producer.
Our guy Brett McNeil. Shout out to Brett McNeil if he still listens to us. He's rolling over with that crack I just made about AEW and Chris earlier about CM Punk, man. That one, if Brett even continued listening past his Chris earlier, complete sullying of CM Punk.
So I do want to say, if Sheamus wins, that could be something too. Sheamus and Cena had a lot of back and forth. They did. Sheamus was world champion for a while there, so that would be kind of a cool thing to see. I don't think any of these four people, though, are going to be in the final match.
Here's what bums me out, Jim, is that they teased us, like you said, with guys from NXT, maybe guys that don't even work here. Okay, You don't have to wrestle those guys right away, but you can give us those guys now. Don't make us wait till the end of the tournament for whoever those special guys are too. Like, we're already waiting with bated breath for the end of the tournament. Like, give us a little bit of something at the beginning. Still have these 2 matches that nobody cares about. Fine. But you could have at least
we need
announced,
a bracket.
Yeah, you could have announced the whole tournament.
Bracket.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get 2 more on Friday, and then we'll get the final 8 next week, and then we'll probably get the bracket after that.
Now,
unfortunately,
we all love this, right? We ask for brackets and tournaments all the time. We absolutely love this, right? So this is fantastic. Think about how much better this would have been if this belt was still on Cena and this was a tournament to get his last match as the last chance to win that belt back and save wrestling. You want to talk about being able to get somebody over by beating Cena? That would be a way to get somebody over. I think that would have made this infinitely better.
I love that. Jimmy, real quick, and then we'll end this, but if we can double back because Chris just sort of did there, and I wanted to point it out. We didn't talk enough at the time about how that decision to get the belt off of John and back onto Cody at the time might have been bad. And Chris has just laid out a couple of scenarios as to how it would have been better. You know, Cody could have had more to do. The Cena thing could have been, I circled back for Williams, and he's not even doing the wrestling show with us. But that was a great point by Chris. And too often on here, I give him guff about his wrestling takes, and that was a damn good one.
They just had they couldn't get Chris from the kick in the nuts to that championship match. They couldn't get the biggest part, the middle, to work. They tried it, it failed. They had to move on, and they did.
They had it set up. They had it set up so perfect. He would have been showing up and then just turn around and walking out, not just making appearances, not wrestling, making people just more mad at him, really becoming the heel again, and being just hated by fans. And then you would have this tournament to see who would actually get to face him and take the belt, and there'd be all kinds of back and forth between him and the GMs of Raw and SmackDown about how they're going to hold him accountable. Like, it could have been all this great stuff leading up to it.
Now you've gone too far. I can see. I'm fine with Cena turning good again, but I think we could have kept the belt on.
All right, I've kept you long enough. Thank you very much. And with that, you've been listening to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the More You Knows podcast network. You're in the ring with Jimmy, Chris, and Rod.
LA Knight, we still love you. All right. Pardon us for not mentioning you this episode. We know that the WWE treats you that way. We don't. Apologies to LA Knight.
Goodbye, Net. Yeah.